Thanks.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee for Friday, April 24th, 2026. The time is 8:50. We should do a roll call. So I'll start. I am the Finance Committee Chair. So we'll move to my left.
Mike Franchini, board member.
Karen Wilkes, public recording.
Art Wisdom, chief economist. Chuck Holton, chairman.
Rachel Johnson, committee member.
Bill Silco, acting commissioner of water.
I'm Bill Kahn, Rental.
Sarah Terrell, HR generalist.
Steve Martin, marketing communications.
Laura Gulfo, council.
Chris Powers, Chief Fiscal Officer. Thank you. The January 23rd meetings, 23rd minutes were submitted previously. So I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Make motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. So we'll start. The first order of business will be a financial report provided by Chris Powers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We put a reef in charge for 1 month. We have name tags. We got a gavel. So yeah, things are going in the right direction. So
He didn't know anybody, that's why we had to do that.
anyways, the aggregate did a great job and live with that. A phenomenal collections number. We'll give that to Reef as well. 12.5 million through the first quarter of 2026 cumulative. That tracks to about 50 million annual revenue if we were to do the math on that. So that's fantastic. There's also the normal caveats to it, as we had some collections from our aged receivable. One of them, sort of the Sony Polytech, and we'll see on the next page, was a little over $2 million of age that, for whatever reason, on the poly side, from administratively, they didn't pay us in February and part of January. So that rolled into March. That there's an additional 2 million or so. That's part of that collections. Commissioner Simcoe was very key in reaching out and figuring out their administration, and payments are flying all over the place. It took a while to get, but they finally landed. That's great. Obviously, that's our biggest customer. SUNY represents about $9.2 million worth of our $44 million budget. So that's we need to make sure that they pay on time in order for us to have sufficient cash flow. But by any other measure, that's still a great collections number. And it proves that we're doing something right. And we'll actually get to our aging. This is going to be the first. Our aging is about $1.1 million. It should be about 1.5. So we have no real aging. There's real small pieces of that. That's the first time we can really say that. We always had something outstanding with OGS or Albany Med still a little bit, but between Bill, Andrea, Arif as well with Albany Med, we've done a great job, frankly, in collecting our bills, and that's obviously key to running any business and for your working capital. So all good news there. The expenses are starting to catch up a little bit, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the ERP implementation through March. It still should be a little higher. There are some things that are caught up in the requisition process and the invoice process. We'll get to that, but it's starting to track, and they're doing better certainly than they were in February. But there's work to do there. And we'll discuss that, but that number is starting to track better to what our real expenses should be. There should be probably a deeper discrepancy from what we're comparing to last year, but there are issues last year too that didn't have anything to do with the ERP. So it's a little, it's hard to do apples to apples there, but we're working on it, and it's a daily thing. We have 3 people on accounts payable. Arif and I were spending an entire day at City Hall yesterday, and probably are there twice a week these days. So we should get an office over there, because we can't get anyone to pick up the phone. And it's not anything on them. They're working their butts off over there, but it's we find it's better when we're doing things in person, and that's the only time we can actually get the payments through. So, but that said, so that's tracking pretty accurately. Our billings That's strong, about 10.6 million, tracking about 5%. Again, we had a 7.5% rate increase for 2026. One of those months still hasn't caught up yet in the rates, so that's tracking to almost exactly what we thought. Our billing should be to that point, and the hope is we collect those billings within 60 days, and we can really track our money. And when you can do that, you can really start planning. So that's coming along very nicely. One of our newer additions over the past couple of months is putting in our consumption. Our cubic feet of 181 million cubic feet. It's basically tracking.
I like the way you had it the first time with the dollar sign in front.
Is it? Yeah, that was wishful thinking. I'm like, okay, so yeah, we had to take that out, but yeah, that's so it's tracking almost exactly a little less than what it was last year. We're still straightening out a few of our meter issues, but that's about our expectation, and that makes sense to us. Next page, again, I kind of already spoke to it, but just again, higher cash collections, that 2.2 million SUNY poly, that Bill helped us get. And again, our payments a little bit lower for the things that are held up on the ERP, but they're starting to track a little better. I will say that they have made significant progress. Given that they didn't really process anything for the first couple of months, they've made a pretty good process at kind of the end of February through March, but they're still catching up a lot. And any ERP is a difficult thing to implement. You're trying to put in software while you're working at the same time. Never mind the human capital that they've lost over there that was driving this in the first place. So we're trying to drive that a bit on our end for things. Reef and I are like, listen, these are things that are going to help us, things that make sense, things that are going to hopefully fix some problems that we had in the past of payments just being held up in the middle of nowhere. We couldn't explain to anybody. Go draw coffee, crazy. We didn't have any answers. So if there's a positive to this is that we're involved in the process, even though we didn't really want to be. So now we have input. We're over there, and it's almost like we're learning as they're learning. So it's a flawed process, but I think we're going to get some positive results out of this when we eventually get it done.
Is there any slowdown in the new auditor's office?
I'm sorry?
Is there a slowdown in audits?
Well, essentially, yeah. For our original requisition to take it to a PO, that's probably our biggest slowdown. Before it wasn't even making it to the invoice stage. Now that's kind of actually done a little better. Once it gets there, it's getting out the door. It's just getting it to that point. So they've had some personnel changes. They're shifting everybody around over there. Who's kind of the head of audit, who's in purchasing, who's and that's been there's a learning curve with this job. They have pretty strict audit requirements, and admin is high on that side. So people learning their jobs while trying to do it. A lot of them are going by the book. We're very often treated exactly like police and fire. That shouldn't be. We had some understandings with some of the fire staff that kind of let us get through. So yeah, there are delays, and we can talk about it a little more. I think when we get to that, but it's we need to make sure our vendors are paid, and they understand that. So we just have to make sure we set it up under the legal type administrative approval process of the board, that we cannot have capital vendors extended over 90 days or even over 60 days. That we need we can make those payments, and we should. And even obviously other vendors, chemicals, things we just need. There's a certain period where they have to be paid hell or high water, as my father would say. And we're going to have to start doing that. We've done it a little bit. We make them aware. If there are emergencies, we have to do it. But we're trying to, also abide by our agreements as well. So that's a little bit of a slippery slope, but we're managing it. But it can't, we can't be in June and still be the way we are now. It needs to get better. And the hope is, and I think it will. We're involved in it a lot. But that said, people need to get paid, and we're going to have to do that. So, and we talk about this every day. So,
And we've got a specific case that we have to
so
discuss.
yeah. So we have a few where the money's come in, and we can just turn this. As we said, we wanted to do the CapEx private. And we lined this up before it was even an ERP change. We wanted to do the CapEx separately. So I think this is a good excuse to actually do that. and have that, you know, we can sort of write out the legalese around it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, they get, the chairman signs off on these contracts, they have timely payment requirements and, then we've got, contractors that are saying, hey, we're in breach of your contract, that's not good.
Well, related to that, is there any talk about the city asking us for administrative certain fees?
no, I don't think they've caught up to it yet.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that's, I keep saying that, but, they're getting into, their normal admin fees, so it's, um. Our view is that whatever they charge, they just need to support it. We understand they do services for us, and I think that's fine. But whatever that number is, just set us the backup, we'll, you know, if it passes, we'll pay it. You know, but, you know, and they're, again, they're behind, we'll get to the audit piece of the third part, but they also need to close their books before we can close our books. So that's something we're dealing with now and trying to schedule the auditor. So, but yeah, so we'll stay tuned, as Joe Coffey, I think, would say.
are we, in related to that, are we metering the city's properties? Do we
Well,
know how much water they use?
we've always had a Route 5, which has, but the thing was, it wasn't. Sometimes it was read once a year, sometimes it wasn't really good. Now we're trying to put it all under the radio reads. So the guys can go around and read Route 5. And also, they weren't necessarily all changed in past meter changeout projects, so we want to go make sure that their meters, you know, we want to find old Neptune Trident meters and things out in the system. And yeah, to really have an accounting for all the things. Otherwise, we're not really able to calculate our unaccounted for water problem.
Well, I just think that knowing how much water they're using will help Chris. If it ever
Well,
comes to
there
that.
would be a dollar value associated with this.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the fun. The next page is the KPIs. You know, like you guys can sort of look at that. Just some sort of general measurements there. The page we're generally working on, we're probably going to reformat it a little bit. Yeah, I think you know, consumption numbers, I really kind of want to get a little more, and get some more into the details of some of our bigger customers and seeing kind of where they're at consumption. And we might break that out.
And I think from where we're doing this, we picked up that Albany, that had a problem.
Right, they made progress in last month, because my native 30%, now is native 20, so.
Well, we found a meter that was clogged
Right,
and it got replaced.
right,
And it was a meter they have off of their connection on Myrtle Avenue. And so they had another meter another connection they don't usually use off of the Scotland Avenue. So they went to using that, and then they had a couple of pipes burst in their basement. So they had an emergency, but they did get the meter replaced that was stuck. So we need to make take a look at possible bill adjustments in regard to then.
Yeah, so we're working, but there's some good things to kind of absorb if you want to take a look at it, along with our normal, our actual financials, but in an effort to keep these meetings going quickly. That's the top side sort of, you know, results, and it's positive, and that's great. One mention was the sewer contract, and Bill and I have talked to the new order that took place in San Fine. They were interested in the comings and goings with that contract with the county, and that's great for us. At least I always wanted to look at how that was really calculated, and given its enormous number of $8 million expense out of our budget, it behooves us to understand that number is correct or not. So he's taken an interest in it, and you know, I think it's a good thing for someone from the outside as an auditor to take a look and help us there. So we're in the midst of that. We got some emails going back and forth, some requests, I think, to just sit down. So let's just go through the bill. The bill is very, even though it's on a monthly basis, fairly general. I think a lot of estimates are being used, things of that nature. that we kind of need to get a handle on, also with the potential of it increasing. This is a
Yeah.
really big number for us, so, but we have auditors on our side now.
Yeah, it's,
Although Sue Rizzo is on the other side.
Yes.
Watch out for her.
yes.
She's not our, I like her very much, but she's not our friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I agree, yeah,
Yeah, so city auditor is gonna see about setting up a meeting with Sue Rizzo and Angelo Gavio and the main concern I have is that the metering stuff be accurate from the county service, because they've had a bunch of trouble with their metering system and now that they're,
Bill showed me some flow charts this morning, pretty obvious that the north plant is having problems.
well, we were kind of expecting we'd be sending more to the north plant since that's where assuming pollen and some of the growth of it has been occurring, but they've had just maintenance problems with their metering system, so we'd like to have a better feeling if they're all accurate.
yeah, so that's in process there. Next piece of that, the ERP update, I've sort of spoken to that. You know, even now, we've just taken another training. It's almost like we're doing this live, and then, you know, then the training that comes out, and then, you know, things change and we gotta do it that way, you know, so it's an in-process ERP. You know, the hope of these things, you have these things set before the year. Okay, you've done this thing October, November, December, you're ready to go January 1. Didn't happen here, and it's not uncommon. A lot of these things can get delayed, but that's what we're up against. But again, now we're on the inside. The upside is we get to sort of dictate some of the things that we want to see on our side, and that's the strength of this.
And-
Downside is we're not getting people paid on time. So we're working.
And I wanted, Reef had set up a monthly report. I don't know if that got circulated, but. And I know,
On the budget.
but I don't know if it's really good yet, but there's, you know, the monthly report on each budget line.
Yeah.
Where we stand, to have that right off the ERP system each month for
Yeah.
the board.
That'll be part of the distribution when we get them sorted. Yeah, right now, yes, it looks like we're doing very well, but no, we gotta get some more expenses
If
in
you
there.
don't have the expenses
Yeah.
properly.
So, but yeah, we agree, when we use that monthly, and we'll give that to you guys to look at as well. So that's the ERP update, the audit, so I spoke with Tom Smith, who's the head auditor, ENPR, on Tuesday. They're looking to either come out, hopefully out of the first 2 weeks of May, particularly that second week or that first week of June. But they won't come out until we close the books. And this happened kind of last year as well. Trying to get ahead of this. We don't want to do this work in the summer anymore. We have the budget going on. Every time we've done this, you know, we've had to get Joe Coffey involved to help us, you know, to his credit, pulling this stuff together. Where it really should just be, you know, our office. So we're trying to stagger these things so we get it right, get the audit done, get into the budget piece, and then have, you know, not a summer that's so crazy. So but we're working with, we were there yesterday at City, and listen, we need to close these things. What do we need to do? What journal entries? You know, there's still some 2025 POs that we had to close, things of that nature. So the hope is by the end of this month, or at least the early part of May, we can get a book closure, get all their entries in, clear out whatever was excess in 25, and do an actual physical close on their the old New World system for 2025. Put out a trial balance, send that to the auditor, and then we send them the internal control document as well. And then they begin planning their field work. Pretty quick, they were out here for like 2 days, you know, doing testing invoices, payments, things of that nature. This will be the third year. So, you know, we've got this down after a very hard first year. This should go pretty smoothly. But again, we're gonna have it exactly scheduled. It's gonna be that second week of May or that first week of June. And obviously depending upon when we get the final trial balance. So we're working on that, but we're pretty excited. You know, it's a good group of guys. I didn't work with your prior orders, but these guys are helpful and insightful. We pay them money, and you know, we should use them, you know, some of their brain power to help us on our internal controls as well, and take their recommendations. I'm gonna try to do a little better with that. We were so mired in trying to pull together the numbers that we probably didn't utilize some of their expertise and some of the things that they do. They have all of the municipalities, they work all over the country. They have the benchmarking and best practice pamphlets and it's in their head. So that's something we're trying to do a little better and help leverage our department and make sure we're getting the most of our money that we're paying our auditors, and they're keen to do it. They want to do that work. So that is all right. That is it for the financial report.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
We'll move on to Bill.
Wait a minute, Anthony, I have a couple of
Oh, I'm
questions.
sorry.
Before,
Sure.
two things. One, is Jess Carpenter still gonna come and you know when?
He is, but I'm not sure the date.
May 4th.
About that.
May 4th.
I still have. She had ordered the city, so I was trying to keep that.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Secondly, I hate to admit this, but I don't pay the bills. They come to the house. I have a nice lady who does that. And she did something, and she came to me and said that this month she paid the water bill electronically. And said it was as simple as pie. If you
Yeah.
guys set up something new,
It's tied through Springbrook. It's related to the civic pay, which we're trying to pull into get a finalized contract for this year. But yeah, it's very easy. You go to their website, it takes you right there from our website. It can take
and
you
it
right to the.
maintains your information, and the second time you do it, it's easy.
Absolutely, go in and it's just pressing a button. Literally from your phone, you can do it,
I
it's,
used to write checks, and I kept pushing her to do it electronically. and
yeah.
it was great.
You can get directed from our own website, take to that site, and then you just hit a button, it's done. So that's what we're trying to do. What's funny is that people still come in here to drop off checks. I saw a guy like,
Yeah.
you mind if I'm gonna ask you why you can go on the website, you don't have to come down here. And it's like, oh, I like to come down, drop. Some people just like to do that, but yeah, it's so easy. It's
They don't trust the man.
no, or the internet, or the wiring the money, I guess, but yeah, we're trying to get people to do that. Yeah, it's a great function of kind of what Springbrook wants. They bring that all together with that vendor, and it's everybody should be doing it.
All right. Yes, the mayor. What percentage of
Can we push it more so that more people do it?
Yeah, I don't have that percentage off the top of my head. I'm gonna maybe I'm gonna say a third might do it. I gotta verify that number. A good number though, substantial number of payers do it.
Of course, the big ones do it.
Yeah, we get from revenue wise, it's probably over half, half to three-quarter, but from the residents, it's probably a smaller percentage. But we can get that number.
It's a very good amount, yeah.
We'll get that for you.
Maybe something on, I don't need the number, but maybe something on the bill to encourage people to do it.
Yeah, that's. Is it already on there?
Out of the bill, we circle, probably once a month at least.
Yeah.
To transition over to online bill pay. We've got it active on our website to put people to it. So we're, right, the more we can get people over to the online bill pay, the better it's going to be for us, right? It's gonna be a lower cost on its payroll service, all that stuff, right? Less paper, right? Want to be environmentally conscious, so we're trying to.
Yeah,
get it
so no way to
on
do it.
that.
But you really like the fact that once you put all the information in, you don't have to do it again. Just go click, click, and it's done.
Yeah.
And I pay her by the hour, so we're very happy.
Yeah, it's simple.
all right, are there any more questions for Chris?
Well,
Okay, there being none.
So I'll be quick, but I just wanna just note, this is a terrific document. And for meetings like this, we can go through it pretty quickly. But don't lose sight of this, for those that are into numbers, because there are just some amazing numbers, particularly in this report. And I'll just note one, and that is because we have percentages in here. And in comparison of numbers, you end up, you can have 120%, you can have 5%, you can have, numbers within that range. But we have like a record-breaking number in here, again, because of the $2 million receipt. On the statement of cash flow, we have a 2,191% change. 2,000, which effectively is 20 times. And it simply is what, for the month of March, what our net operating cash flows were, and they were 2.7 million as opposed to about $100,000 for the same month last year. But having a 2,000% change is just unheard of, especially when it's a positive number. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we can take that in the right direction.
The line of credit.
Yeah, I know that you're always on the line, you and I are thinking both about that. Yeah, it's with that line of credit. The reality, yeah, the hope is if we're not gonna start paying it off in its entirety. To start paying it down, if you will. And I think we're gonna start doing that over the next few months. The delay for me has always been, okay, you know, what is our real cash need? And the argument is we can draw back, if we need it, we can just draw back down on it. It's not as simple as a person, you know, you're overdrafting your bank, it might take you a week to get it, you gotta fill out some forms. So which is if you have a real emergency, you gotta kind of plan for it. But yeah, it's on our radar, and the hope is before the end of this quickly, we're approaching end of year 2026 is to make a dent into that. And we paid, so it was 4 million, we paid 2 million off 2 years ago.
Well, and a liability we have for the long-term control plan to other communities. That we have.
Yeah, that's good. We have some liabilities that have been there for quite some time that we've been sitting on some cash. So as long as we can clear all that up, get that behind us with our own working capital, pay some of that down, and then knock out that line of credit. It's something we need to do. It's about 9,000 per month or so in interest we pay on that. So that's a nice salary, or 2 salaries for somebody. So people that we need. So we're aware of it, and we got to do it.
Are there any more questions? Okay, is there any new business? We have no reason to enter into an executive session. So the next meeting is scheduled for Friday, July 24th, at 8:30 a.m. There's no more business to be brought before this committee. I would ask for a motion to adjourn. 9:17. All in favor? Thank you.
Might we have a